So our speaker need no introduction, Sadhguruji. But as a student of yoga, of philosophy and ecology, it is a fanboy moment for me, and I'm not going to let go this opportunity of not introducing him formally. Today, we are privileged to have with us Sadhguru, a yogi, mystic, best-selling author, a speaker of international renown, and one of the world's most influential voice on ecology. He has been conferred Padma Vibhushan, India's highest annual civilian award, accorded for exceptional and distinguished service. He is the initiator of the world's largest people movement, Save Soil. Sadhguru recently concluded a 30,000-kilometer journey across 27 nations spanning 100 days as a lone motorcyclist across Europe, Central Asia, Middle East, and India. And this movement ignited 3.9 billion people concerned for soil and created an urgency in governments around the world to implement soil revitalization policies. Why is he so passionate about saving soil? Why he wants us to care about it? So I just want to share some information about that. And I didn't know till the time I went deep research into it. Soil degradation is one of the gravest problems facing humanity today, something which we tend to ignore. The UN has declared that we only have 60 years of soil left. 52% of world's agricultural soil is already degraded, and every second, 1 acre of soil is becoming desert. Responsible scientists say we could have 40% less food by 2045, and our population will be over 9 billion people. This is the gravest crisis that's unfolding beneath our feet, but the gravest crisis can become an enormous opportunity. To make this opportunity a reality in our lifetime, Sadhguruji is going to share in this fireside chat hosted by my colleague Dina Parkins about his vision and how he would like us to be part of that movement to save soil, which in turn is going to save this world, which is the only place we have at this point of time to live and survive. So with that, Dina, over to you, and I would like to invite Sadhguruji on the stage.
I'm just hope this session's run by accident, so Dana's not actually here yet, so if you could stop on it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's coming. So just waiting for Dina to, she's micing up. She's going to come. So I'm just going to give. So Guruji, as we have, so let's start the conversation before Dina actually joins. And I had the honor and privilege of spending over 20 minutes with him, which is a God-gift opportunity to have so much time with him than I had. And the passion for soil. Everybody talks about climate. Everybody talks about, different challenges. But you are the one who picked up something which nobody talked about. But listening to you in the last 20 minutes, I'm like completely shaken. So why soil?
Why not soil is the question. How can you not talk about soil if you're interested in anything about this planet? If you're concerned about life on this planet, how can you not be interested or concerned about the soil? Because every life that you see, whether it's a worm, insect, bird, animal, tree, human beings, every aspect of life that you see has come from the topsoil, which is just 15 to 18 inches of soil, which contains zillions of microbial life. Microbial life means, in a way, they are miniature human beings. They are the makers of our life. Even today, over 60% of your very body is microbes. Only 40% is your parental genetics, and we're missing the whole point. Because of the narratives that I've picked up on the planet, I've been watching this with concern. Last 30 years I've spoken about soil, but everybody says, Sadhguru, this is fantastic, what you're saying is great, and they sleep on it. So I thought I need to wake them up, and that's why this Save Soil journey, before I'm too old and no good for anything, I had to stir something up. I don't hold any authority in the world in the form of being a minister or any kind. I don't hold any position in the world of any kind. So the only thing is, the love and goodwill that I have with people, I thought I'd play on their heartstrings, and I did something risky, which could have cost my life at many points, 30,000 kilometers in 100 days and 697 events along the way. So, here I am, alive and in one piece.
You may not hold any official positions, but I think I can speak on everybody's behalf here. You know, stay in our heart. You have a big place in our heart.
So, so that's why I said I played on people's
Yes.
heartstrings. So I wanted to do something that's risky enough, but is not a clear suicide. If I try to walk 30,000 kilometers, it is a suicide. If I try to cycle, it is a suicide. Motorcycle, just about there, but you could survive, and I have. So why this is needed right now, why it is important, why this urgency is… See, we are in a cusp of time that if we act now, in 10 to 15 years' time, we can make a significant turnaround. What is this turnaround we're talking about? On an average, according to UNFAO, 27,000 species are going extinct. At this rate, if it keeps sliding like this, approximately somewhere between 25 to 40 years, this slide will become a tumble. Once it becomes a tumble, there is nothing you and me can do. This slide can be arrested and it can be pushed back, so it is very important to act now. So as a generation, yes, we face a challenge, but it's also our privilege that we have the ability and the opportunity to turn this around. If we allow this to go for another 30 to 40 years, it will become nearly impossible to turn this around. That's where we are. So this action is most needed. As all of you should know, that 54% of the world's land is plowed because it's agriculture. Another 18% is partially plowed, so nearly 71% is plowed. 4.2% of the world's land is urban land, that means it's largely paved. So together, 76% of the world's land is either plowed or paved. That means largely for most parts of the year, there is no photosynthesis on this. Why am I talking about photosynthesis? We need to understand life on this planet is what it is today. You and me have evolved to this point today as human beings only because of the phenomena that we refer to as photosynthesis. Pre-photosynthesis era, the oxygen content in the atmosphere was just a shade over 1%. Today it is 21%. That is the reason why we're breathing and we're alive. It's not just that, that is the reason why life evolved into this complex format. So, in the last 1,000 years, we have removed 85% of the world's photosynthesis or oxygen manufacturing factories on the planet. What's our plan really? We are busy wanting to catch carbon dioxide molecules in the air. What is the reason? I'm not saying it is not a concern, it is also a concern, a significant concern, I'm not saying no. But without addressing soil, how can you address climate change? How can you address global warming? If people have to understand what is global warming on a hot day, even in UK, in India it'll be far more distinct.
Yeah.
If you do this in any tropical country and even here in summer, just go and feel with your hand, you don't need a meter. With your hand feel open soils, what is the temperature? Grassy soil, what is the temperature? Where there are bushes, what is the temperature? Under the trees, what's the temperature? There will be a range of 8 to 12 degrees centigrade difference between unprotected soil to what is under shade. This is climate change.
Yes.
Nearly 35 to 40% of the world's global warming is because of open soils. But why is it that soil is a taboo? Why nobody is mentioning this in any conventions and conferences? What is the idea? Because there's no money in this. It's time we face this up. Yes, there is business to be done, but this is an existential issue. If you don't address this now, you will be very regretful, but this is the opportunity we have. We can either be a responsible generation or a regretful generation. This is the opportunity we have. If we don't do this now, this is not… I'm not a doomsayer, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm not a doomsayer, but this is serious stuff. If we do not attend to this now, it will not work, and this doesn't take any rocket science kind of technology. This doesn't take any very large financial outlays. It just needs that we change our direction into the right direction and a relentless commitment towards that, and it will happen. So the simple thing is to offer incentives to the farmers, because most of the land, open lands, are owned by farmers. Right now, the shame is not in a single country, not a single nation on the entire planet has the minimum organic content which the UN prescribes. To call soil as soil, there must be minimum 3% organic content. This is the most minimum. But not a single nation has this average as 3%. The highest that you find is in Northern Europe, which is 1.48%. Southern Europe is 1.1%. Below 1% is considered desertification. United States is 1.25%. India is 0.68%. Africa as a continent is 0.3%. By 2030, it is expected that 2/3 of the African land, as a continent I'm speaking, not nations, as a continent, 2/3 of the land will be degraded in Africa. In the last 25 years, we've lost 10% of the world's land for desertification. What else does it take to wake us up? I don't know.
Yeah. So, Sadhguruji, I think my colleague Dina is going to join me with the conversation, so she was micing up.
Please.
Dina?
Hello, everyone. So one of the benefits of the fact that we have just kind of swapped around a bit of our agenda is that we get additional time with Sadhguru. And I just wanted to let everybody know that following his address, there will be a final panel on some of the topics that we've been discussing here today. So this room I'm jealous of, because they've gotten additional time to hear more about what you're discussing around soil and how, well, I mean, how we hopefully are at an inflection point. You're saying nobody's talking about it, but increasingly biodiversity and soil are coming to the forefront, and you've been a big part of that. So let's discuss your 100-day journey. Where you started, where you finished. So you started over here, you traveled across.
So this is the thing, I took 100 days to get to southern India. Now I got here in less than 10 hours.
But you galvanized people along the way. So why the journey? Why 100 days on a motorbike?
100 days it takes that much to cover the distance. Motorcycle, I already explained to them why. Because I don't hold any authority in the world, any position in the world. The only thing is people's love and goodwill. So I played on that by riding a motorcycle and depicting that journey, because there were any number of moments of great danger. So when people saw that, they all sat up. Today, the level of response in the world is some of the agencies in the United States are saying that by 23rd of June, we have touched more than 3.91 billion people. Never before probably any movement has done that. Over 1,236 media outlets have reported the event and continue the conversation, many of them. And social media platforms and social media influencers, especially youth, have taken this up in a huge way. So that's made a big difference. For the first time, people are hearing that soil is an issue, so it's made people sit up. Though I've been talking about it for 30 years, till I did a little yo-yo with my life, they didn't sit up.
So who's the audience you're trying to reach, though? You've got over 3 billion people. You've got the investment community, the business community, everyday citizens, but at the heart of it, it's policymakers.
Yes. See, we need to understand this. Tell me in which nation 60% of adult population has ever stood up and expressed their concern for long-term well-being of their nations, have expressed their concern that we are concerned about our children's future. No, they want a reduction in gas price, that happens. They want a little discount on their income tax, that happens, this and that. This is happening. I'm not saying these things are not important, it's important for daily life. But this is an existential issue. If citizens do not mandate it, it's not going to happen. First of all, governments in a democratic nation are not elected to do something fantastic. They are elected to fulfill people's mandate. Where is the mandate, I'm asking? Not in one given nation is there a mandate for long-term well-being. If anybody, any leader ever tries to do anything really long-term, normally they lose their election. That is a fact. Hello? That is a reality. So right now, you give them, what is in UK, 5 years, right, or 4 years? The
It
term.
depends on the year.
I know, but I'm saying the term for the prime…
Yeah.
5, it's 5. So in India it's 5, in United States it's 4, many nations are 4. So you give them a term of 4 to 5 years. Tell me, if we made you the Prime Minister of this country or any country for that matter, and we give you 4 years or 5 years to do something, would you attempt to do things which will bear fruit within 4 years, or would you attempt to do things which will bear fruit in 10, 15, 20 years? Naturally, within the mandate, the period. So because of this, nobody wants to pick up anything which is of long-term interest for our well-being. Everybody wants to do something which will happen in that period. This will not happen unless people mandate it. So that is why the Save Soil movement, the idea is that 60% of the world's population stand up and express their concern in some way. Fortunately, people have moved. Now it is to move the governments. I'm on the way, UK, United States, South America, Caribbean countries, I'm traveling this in the next month, because many of them have made… 74 nations have made declarations that they will follow. We also made a policy document. It's not really policy, it's a handbook, it's a technical handbook to make the policy, to make at least one step simpler for the governments. With top-level scientists in the world, we made a technical document, 193 unique documents for 193 nations based on their latitudinal position, soil types, economic conditions and agricultural traditions. Why agricultural traditions is, even if you have all the science on your side, you cannot change the agricultural traditions overnight. So taking these into considerations, we've made documents like this, we've given one for UK, we are presenting one in United States, we have presented to all the nations in COP15, where the theme became soil, fortunately. So it is moving in this direction, but businesses should act, because this whole thing is based on incentives. One important thing we want to achieve through this is, soil must be separated from other ecological concerns, because all other ecological concerns will run into headwind of opposing some business or the other. Soil regeneration, enhancing organic content in the soil is not against anybody. Oil industry is not against it, automobile industry is not against it, coal is not against it, fertilizer industry is not against it, pesticide industry is not against it, because we are not prescribing any particular type of farming. This is just to keep the soil alive, because soil is a living entity. It is the largest living system, not just on this planet, in the known universe. This is the largest living system. But 85% of the nations still addressing soil as an inert substance. In some nations, they're referring to soil as dirt. If this is dirt, all of us are dirt bags, that's all it amounts to.
That's a great line. So, you're saying you're not against any industry. How many of them have come along the journey and are getting excited and engaging with it? Because I'm guessing the fertilizer and the multinational corporations which are looking to make money off of agricultural supply.
So I was at the Economic Forum. In the middle of the journey, I took a 2-day break and went to Davos for this. So I met some of the top agricultural, fertilizer companies and also pesticide companies. I also met some of the top farm leaders, farm unions like that. So one of the fertilizer companies was complaining, we have made biofertilizers, but there's nobody to lift it, it's all inventory, it's not going anywhere. So the problem is there's no incentive. If there's no incentive, this change will not happen, because farm economy is so fragile. If you touch it, it'll collapse. We need to understand, in the last 25 years, nearly 500,000 farmers have committed suicide on the planet. The highest suicide rate among any given profession in the world is among farmers. In United States, this is so, in Europe it is so, in India definitely it is so. So what is it? What is it that needs to happen? 500,000 people commit suicide. If this doesn't wake up, I don't know what.
I can guess that you probably have a room now of people who are converted.
So let me articulate this. We have evolved a 3-point incentive policy.
Okay.
One thing is, right now most nations are below 1%. Below 1% is considered desertification according to United Nations UNCCD. So now, if you offer an incentive, this has to be done by the government. If the government offers an incentive, if you raise it to 3%, we will give you this much incentive, whatever it is. It could be phased out in different ways. In developed countries, they can try to do it in 3 years' time. In developing countries, they can do it in 6 years' time. In poorer nations, they can do it in 8 to 10 years because to lessen the burden, financial burden for the governments. Next thing is, there is something called as carbon credit marketplace. I must tell you, most of you, I don't know, some of you may be experts in this. Last 7 years, we've done everything possible. We have not moved an inch. We've not been able to get one carbon credit for one farmer anywhere. We've tried so hard because if you raise the organic content, the amount of carbon sequestration that's happening, the biggest carbon sink on the planet is soil. 1 acre of soil can sequester so much carbon, and 3 times more carbon is there in the soil than in the atmosphere. But carbon credit scheme is like a maze. It took me a few years to realize that this is made like this so that we never get anywhere. Pillar to post, we are running, not getting anywhere. It is time we simplify carbon credit scheme. What is for industry, you can't apply for agriculture. So for agriculture, per acre, like a thumb rule you have to come up. If it is this much percentage of organic content, come up with a simple figure. Little variations may be there, it may not be absolutely correct, but come up with a simple figure, this is the kind of carbon credit you get. You don't have to pay twice or 10 times over, just pay what is reasonable. Somebody come up with a calculation, and this has to be done. The next thing is there must be a market recognition that today if you go to the market, people are saying this apple or potato comes from… this is organic. You know, when I'm riding through India, because people think that I've been missing mangoes riding in Europe and Central Asia and Arabia, when I go to India, everybody's thrusting mangoes in my face and say, Sadhguru, this is an organic mango. I say, okay, this is fine, but where is the inorganic one? There's no such thing. You're just making up these words in the marketplace. When you say organic, what you're saying is, don't use fertilizer, don't use pesticide, don't use anything. If you do that tomorrow, your food production in the world will come down to 25% of what it is right now. That's clear death. That's death for all of us. Yes?
Well…
So, 1 second, please, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Is it okay?
It is, they're here to hear you speak.
Okay. So it's important that in the marketplace, instead of simply saying this is organic, which is just a marketing term, you say this, that this apple comes from 3% organic content field. Now if you say this, there is enough science to tell you if it comes from 3% organic content, what are the extra micronutrients that are present? What are the health benefits? What are the preventive health benefits? What is the load it will reduce on the healthcare system? And in what ways will it bring well-being for the society by creating more healthy and creative human beings? All this data is there. So suppose my apple comes from 6% organic content. Now, this has to be put on a higher shelf with a higher price, maybe you have to pay 20% more. But instead of eating 6 apples, 1 apple will give you the same thing. Right now, every data is showing that if you ate an orange in 1920, how much nutrients you received from that or got from that. Today, if you have to get the same thing, you will have to eat 8 oranges. Is 8 oranges practical in your breakfast, I'm asking?
No, it's more than my 5 a day. There we go. Okay, well, so I think the point that you're making, you're out here educating all of us, but action is what makes change. So, Isha Foundation, Save Soil, where do people go next? What do you want them to do as we close?
One important thing is your influence in the governments must be leveraged, that there must be an incentive, first level of incentive. Next thing is businesses are competent to break the carbon credit puzzle, all right? And the next thing is to brand organic content rather than simply saying organic. Organic content in the field. Why I'm talking about organic content, not soil carbon, is simply because if you have to test the carbon, it has to go to the laboratory. Once you create a lab process, it'll never be large scale and sweeping. It has to be on the farm level. soil organic content could be tested on the farm level. It'll be done right there. So you can sweep this across the planet in a matter of 2 to 3 years' time, and in 8 to 10 years, a significant turnaround can happen. Now, this is not just about food security, food production, this is the foundation of our life. These are the foundation stones of our life. The organisms are there and they're starving because there's no organic content. And the only two sources of organic content you have on this planet, this must be understood, because I see in the cities, in many cities I've gone, everybody thinks there is an app which will produce organic content. The only two sources of organic content are plant life and animal life. If you don't bring them back on the farmland, there is no organic content anywhere in the known universe. There isn't.
Although incidentally, Sadhguru does have an app. So.
It doesn't produce organic.
It doesn't.
It's grown organically though.
I want to thank you so very much for
Thank
joining
you.
and sharing your insights with us here today. All of you, please do bear with us. We had all of this additional time here, which means we want to allow a little extra time for our next panel. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
and a round of applause for our speaker.